Good morning again. Cameras are now all set up. I think they froze overnight and needed a bit of a reset. Continuing across Wyoming. Driving is good today. Temperatures are cold, but it didn't really snow much over here. Roads are clear. Left Rock Springs. Had to go over some hills after that, but no challenges there. And now it's just little ups and downs across Wyoming. Still at high altitude. I think we're certainly above 6,000, maybe even above 7,000 feet. I believe we're coming up on something significant here. Yes, we are. Here it is. Continental Divide, elevation 7,000. Okay, looks like we're going to get some wind, but that's pretty normal through here. But anyway, this geography is favorable to transportation. The big mountains are to the south and to the north. Coming into Rawlins. Seems like a good time for a gas stop. Rawlins, if I'm not mistaken, is the first of many of what are known as Hell on Wheels towns that we will encounter on this trip across Wyoming and Nebraska. For now, I think I'm going to get some gas. Flash. Continuing across Wyoming, and my partner here, he has my back, always. Don't you flash. Travel with cats. Continuing across Wyoming in the wind. Feeling like I'm constantly steering to the right, which I guess I am, because the wind is coming from the right and it keeps blowing me left. No forecast of snow, but it does look like grayer ahead up through these hills. Next town is Laramie and then Cheyenne, and I am so glad I didn't try to do this last night. careful passing trucks, because they do get blown sideways even more than me. Stopped in Laramie, Wyoming for about half an hour. Sat at a Starbucks, relaxed a little bit, and let the cats really have the run of the car. Put out some food for them. Let them both use the litter box. Mish Mish is finally kind of getting used to it. I don't think she'll ever really like it, but she is getting used to it. Now we're heading across the Laramie Range, what used to be known as the Black Hills. And we're going to take advantage of a geographical oddity, or geological oddity, that, well, is used by the road, was used by the Transcontinental Railroad before it, called the Gangplank, which is an odd section of mountain that basically provides a ramp down from these hills into Cheyenne, which is lower down on the other side of the hills. From here, we will leave the high plains and enter the plains of Nebraska. Elevation 8,640 feet. So in fact, we're higher up now than we were when we crossed the Continental Divide. And I'm not sure if this is the highest point on the route. It might be. Most of the terrain we cross in Wyoming is pretty flat. But this section through the Laramie Range is pretty nice. Welcome to Nebraska. State number 6. And the last of the really big states we have to cross. As we go east, the states get smaller. Next town is Sidney, Nebraska, and that'll be lunch. Well, stopped in Sidney, had a quick lunch, fed the cats. Not that somebody here isn't still looking for treats. There are no more. Gave them a chance to use the litter box. And now heading east. today is just a day of pretty straight, flat, and hopefully continually uneventful driving. Flash is just getting more and more curious. You're getting curious. You should sleep all day, like you do at home. He's realized there are treats in the car because I give him some from time to time, and he's on a search for them. I've had to hide them really well because he's found them twice. He may be 17, but he's an absolute pain in the ass. Aren't you, Flash? You're a pain in the ass. Don't get on the dashboard. No. I think I need to stop briefly. I'll be back later. Flash doesn't hear too well anymore, but his nose is as good as ever. He's been sniffing around the glove compartment because he knows there's something in there. And there is. That's where I stashed the sealed bag of treats, but he can still smell it. Cats. Anyway, the drive is going well. Nice, steady, mostly just about 75 miles an hour, 120 kilometers an hour. Flash has his hunter instinct. He's hunting for treats. That's about as good as it gets for him. I wish I could stop and lean over the camera and point at him, but I can't. He's just sniffing around everywhere. It's quite amusing. Flash, you are not getting at the treats. Thought this was a good time to talk about a lot of what we're seeing along the way. And many of these small towns were originally built as part of the building of the railroad. Many of them were referred to in the day as Hell on Wheels towns. They would serve as the base for building some stretch of railroad. Typically, these towns and the areas around these towns would not be the most savory places. They have drinking and gambling and virtually every vice under the sun for 30 to 40 days. And then they would all pick up, put themselves onto their wagons or onto the railroad, move some distance down the road, set up again, and do it for another 30 or 40 days until the railroad had moved further forward. Because these towns were constantly in motion, and because they were always pretty violent, and not very nice places, they became known as Hell on Wheels towns. And the Hell on Wheels would just move forward with the railway. Most of the towns along the Platte River Valley, where we are right now, started that way. A lot of the Hell on Wheels towns just disappeared. The ones that weren't further developed by the railroads just served their purpose and were abandoned. but many of these to this day, hello Flash, found their history in the Hell on Wheels era. Those couple of years of construction through the Platte River Valley. Today, Hell on Wheels is what my cats are experiencing. They're not having much fun with this. Good morning from somewhere in Iowa, east of Omaha. Hit the fog coming into Omaha last night, and it hasn't cleared. So, hoping that as the day goes on, it either clears or I'm able to drive out of it. Otherwise, it's going to be a miserable, slow-going day. Crossing the Mississippi at Davenport, Iowa, or just south of Davenport, Iowa. Welcome to Illinois. Weather never has really cleared. It's remained gray and overcast, but no fog, at least not since much earlier today. Good driving conditions. Cats have been mostly calm. Flash has popped up from time to time to come over and demand attention. He's sleeping next to me right now. Heading east towards Chicago, we'll skirt south of the city. Along the bottom of the lake. And then on to Ohio. Staying in Toledo tonight, last night on the road. Mish is going to be really happy about last night on the road. Not much to say since we entered Nebraska yesterday. It's just flat driving. That was the Des Plaines River, south of Chicago. Illinois, I said, was the 8th state. Indiana will be 9th. We go through it briefly. And then Ohio will be 10th. And we will stop in Ohio tonight. If I look uncertain or annoyed, it's because I am. And we are about to enter Indiana. Going from, I guess, the Illinois toll road to the Indiana toll road. Anyway, welcome to Indiana, state number 9. Obviously, it's started raining. Likely last update for the night. I'm on the Indiana toll road, going through South Bend, Indiana, which is where Notre Dame University is. Don't think I'll be back again unless there's some real interesting event. So, catch you in the morning. Good morning from Ohio, where my buddy and I are still traveling across the Ohio Turnpike. Gonna make a quick stop. I ran out of washer fluid, so I'll pick some up. Okay, not this exit. Somewhere up ahead here, there's a service stop. Possibly the shortest day. Certainly will get in earlier, in part because I started early, but in part because it is a short day. And my friend here will be happy that he doesn't need to get back in the car again. He's being very active this morning, looking for those treats. Here's the service plaza. Anyway, Ohio. State number 10. Flash will be happy to finally get to state number 12. Mish will be even happier. Catch you on down the road. You too, Flash. Youngstown, Ohio, and the first sign we've seen pointing to New York City. Not going to make it all the way to New York City, but going to get about as close as you can get without getting there. Continuing on Interstate 80, we've been on it pretty much the whole way since Salt Lake City. I somehow missed the sign, but we're now in Pennsylvania. Welcome, state number 11. And from what I could tell when I stopped for a snack, the storm that blew through last night, that was so much wind and rain where we were, turned to snow a bit further east. So glad to have missed that. And it's blown through and roads are clear now. So continuing east. And there is the Pennsylvania welcome sign. Maybe we weren't quite into Pennsylvania. I thought the previous sign said we were, but the pavement changed right by the sign, so welcome to Pennsylvania. Welcome Center is closed. Not really tourist season. Well, I'm here in Pennsylvania with my buddy who's very interested in things. In fact, he's been investigating everything in the car for the past 2 days, which is a bit of a change from the first couple days. He was a bit more withdrawn, but now he's just wandering everywhere, exploring, trying to figure out where I've stashed the treats. An Instagram video of him looking for treats is going viral. I just found out this morning, a little earlier this morning, when I stopped to get a bite to eat, and I saw that I have over 1,000 views. The most I've ever had for a video of any kind. Yes, Flash. You probably should get off my lap. I'm gonna have to attend to this problem. It's getting worse. Continuing through Pennsylvania with Flash, who is active again. He goes back and forth between very active and very snoozy. Heading down into the Delaware River Valley, and we'll cross the river soon. Flash is feisty. He doesn't care very much about the river. Pennsylvania finally got a little bit of sun. Just crossed the Susquehanna again. We kind of crisscross with it on this route. And continuing to head east towards New Jersey. Hasn't been an awful trip, but it hasn't been the easiest I've done either. If I were to do it again, almost certainly would not do it this time of year. If I were traveling in the spring or in the fall, I could pack the car a bit differently, give the cats lots of space, and maybe even leave them in here overnight rather than dealing with the pain, discomfort, and general hassle of getting them in and out of motel rooms, which they don't seem to particularly like anyway. But that's a different argument for a different time and a different place. Ride continues.